We're in the future. AI can now write code for us. Our job has got a lot easier as software engineers. There's a lot of technology with LLMs and code generation. These large language models are pattern generators. They take an initial starting input and they can predict what the next few letters are going to be in an ongoing series that fits up to the context window of the model. We might think that they're AI, these things are intelligent now. They are literally pattern generators that are really good at predicting the next letter in the sequence. And we can use them as code completion tools. They're really powerful. What we can do is we can prompt the machine with our initial desire, and the machine will complete the task for us based on its best estimate. And it usually gets it right. Sometimes it's wrong, but that's okay. We just change how we describe our challenge and what we're looking to achieve, and it will provide the correct output. This is a really great application for an LLM, a large language model, because it requires some input data first. If you look at the ChatGPT, the reason why that took off is because it's a natural interface that provides an initial context. As you prompt and ask the AI a question, it can provide answers. And that is key. It requires today an initial human input in order to follow the instructions that you provided it. And that's why that chat model works so well, because it enforces you as a human to provide the initial context. The same goes for software engineering. If you write a code comment to perform a certain task, the AI can read your comment and then fill out the code for you automatically. The current state of LLMs for programming and improving your day-to-day as a software engineer is pretty vast. There are a lot of options available. A couple options that you may have heard of are GitHub Copilot, and we also have AWS Code Whisper. You may have worked with OpenAI's API directly in their playground, and we also have Sneak's AI that will catch problems in terms of a security perspective and provide fixed solutions. Starting with the most common use case is the ability to write code automatically for you and perform tasks. These tasks will be generating a code output for you, so you don't have to do any of it. All you have to do is provide the instructions that best describe your target outcome. This is the new way of writing code. I've tried it myself, and it's very satisfying. So we're looking here at GitHub's example with their Copilot, and it does code completion for you automatically, which is very satisfying. It goes beyond that. There's a few extra capabilities that it offers. This is a neat one that I wasn't really familiar with before. There's a command line, GH Copilot, that allows you to ask the AI to help you write bash commands or shell commands for you. That's pretty powerful. I like that. Another great one is doing that heavy lifting of work where it's annotating pull requests. As you submit your work into a repository, you need to be collaborating with others using something called a pull request, which is your submission for a change to the repository. And usually what you want to do is provide a detailed outline of what the change is, because there's a lot of changes probably in your code, and you just want to give an overview. Now, the AI can do that for you, and it can do it very well. The most common use case for LLMs in a coding context is code completion. Most of the models are all pretty good, and they're generally fast. There are several applications. Usually just in general, it's going to be code completion, right? For example, we have Code Whisper from AWS that will take a comment that you type to it, and then it will autocomplete based on your parameters. Another neat one is it can understand and sort of recognize potential references to other shared code and give you a license under which that code has been spotted before. Code Whisper will also give you a nice hard-to-find security vulnerabilities that get code sessions to remediate and identify issues, which is really great because now the AI can detect a lot of the problems that you might run into when you're coding that you might not necessarily be paying attention to. And I think that's pretty important, especially if the AI is going to be generating the code in the first place. It can also double check itself. Now, as software engineers, it is our job to read what the AI provides as output so we can ensure that it's going to do exactly what we need it to, especially since we're prompting it to do a task, and that task is only going to be as good as what you've prompted it to do. In order to get started, usually you'll have to pick your favorite IDE, and most of these LLM offers will come in various flavors across different IDEs. VS Code is a very popular one. You can pick that one and install Code Whisper. You could also install Copilot, and you can also install Sneaks as well. Wait, actually, I wonder what would happen if you installed all of them. You would have competing AI results in your output. You'll probably want to stick to one, but you could potentially install all of them together. Maybe a good combination would be Sneak plus one of the other two more common. Let's give it a try. We're going to try out the Copilot, an LLM that will automatically generate code for us. So we're going to jump in here into our IDE really quick. I've got an example Rust file up here and running, and I'm just gonna try it out. I've already installed the Copilot here, and basically it will do the most important thing, which is autocomplete for us. I like this because what it's done is it's auto-completed code comment based on my initial input and its surrounding data as well. So it knows that it needs to create a code comment that's going to be related to what's happening in the nearby code space. This makes my job easier because if I didn't want to have to write the code comments before, guess what? Now I can just easily have the AI write all the code comments for me. And if I didn't like that one, I can choose a different one. I like that one better. Here we go. In addition to code comments, it'll also complete my code. Oh, well, look at it. It's already figured out what I want. I do need to loop through, yep, because we want to broadcast a message to everyone except ourselves. So I've commented out ourselves. So we broadcast a message and we need to, done. It did it. That was way too easy. Okay, I think I found the new way to code these days is going to be just by pressing tab. This is the autocomplete button. All right, let's comment what this does. Yep, there we go. Oh, that is satisfying. And the cool part is I didn't necessarily need to know what I was doing. The AI just kind of took care of it for me for the most part. I also get to learn along. As it's coding, I get to see what it's doing, and I'd be able to infer a few things. Now, I do have to say that this isn't as good as doing it yourself by hand, because as you learn and try yourself, you'll run into a lot of mistakes. Those mistakes are very important as you learn. You'll find things that don't work and things that cause problems in certain ways. As you identify problems down the line, you'll be able to more readily solve them. However, I don't know if that's going to be as needed anymore because the AI can find the same problems and then solve them for you as well. Also, I'm kind of curious to see what's happening here. What do we return a successful future? Okay, what does that really mean? This is very cool. I was able to derive the whole meaning just by pressing a few tabs and looking through the various options that the AI offered. It gave me this output that described the end of the loop. This is the future of programming. You gotta try it out. A low touch and cost efficient approach to coding with an AI is to use OpenAI's Playground. With OpenAI's Playground, you can give this an overall system input with a user prompt, which will help guide the assistant to providing you the target output. This is a nice way to sort of do discovery of concepts and the ability to manage and maintain your existing code using different patterns that are available in the language. For example, you can write a switch statement in Bash or ZSH, and it looks like this, which is a rather verbose output. You can go back and ask the AI to write it in fewer lines in a more condensed format, and it will do it, and it looks like this. Now that's a lot more concise. Then you can copy and paste this into your code editor and then use this pattern going forward. One of the powerful things I like about this approach is that you can directly edit the assistant's output. So the AI's result, what it gave you, you can go back and edit what it said, and it will, going forward, think that it said that. This allows you to completely manipulate all of the input data. I'm gonna do something really simple here and then just change the input data, which is going to be the next following question, and I'm going to just make it look like this in the format. So the AI actually responded with this data here, with this text. I'm going to take that a step further, modify the data by changing the code that it provided. Now it thinks that it answered with that result. Delete a previous output, and then my next question, even though I'm asking the same question, it's going to follow the previous output from my first question, which is a really neat way to go about it because you can completely manipulate the entire workflow of the chat. So let's try it out. Let's see what it says. I bet you it's going to follow the instructions in this case. And just a little bit of manipulation there. It gave me exactly what I was looking for. I did modify its previous output from a previous conversation, and then it was able to follow the instructions based on even what it said. So I can manipulate the flow of the process here. It is not quite as good as like that developer experience where you're coding directly in your IDE. However, it's sort of like a little bit of a different experience because now you can directly manipulate the entire flow of the experience. So this isn't necessarily for free, or can it be? Yes, it can. There are costs. However, if you want to go the easy route, you'll have an opportunity to use GitHub Copilot for a low price of $19 per user, or if you're an enterprise, and that's basically $40 per user. But if you look down lower on the screen, there is an individual price for $10 a month, which is even better, but there's a hidden option for completely free. If you go to github.com/github-copilot/free_signup, you'll get a screen like this, and it may give you access to eligibility for the free version, which is pretty exciting. There are other free options. We don't have to use GitHub Copilot. There are open source models that you can download directly and run on your system. For example, CodeLlama, and there's other options available. I heard some Mistral was in there, a few other options on the table, and they will be able to run on your local system. Now, from a data security perspective, that's fantastic, though it is going to require probably some heavy GPU lifting. But it's a free option, which is fantastic. Also, it's not going to be directly integrated. You're going to have to find an open source option that will integrate this model into your IDE of choice. We also see that AWS from Amazon, they offer Code Whisperer for free, so you can use this option as well. It will be a little more streamlined and easy to get set up. So you've got a free Copilot, a free Code Whisperer on Amazon, and then a free option to run on your local system. This seems pretty reasonable, right? I mean, if you can get a system that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting of your coding for you, auto-completing basically all the tasks that you have to do as an engineer, who would say no? I mean, here's the deal. It is going to take a little bit of effort from your side to learn how to interact with the AI to get it to give you the output that you're looking for. It is a new strategy, a new pattern, and a set of knowledge that's just going to take practice. And this is so new right now that there are not a lot of really good common best practices out there. It's just raw data input and output. As things go on over time, we're going to see that these AIs, and from a coding perspective, they're going to take us to a point where it's going to be even easier. The common patterns that we might find on the internet that allow us to take the most advantage of these models will just be baked in from the get-go. However, I'd probably say it is a good time to get started now because the existing technology already takes the acceleration. It makes your day-to-day that much better. There are a lot of options when it comes to picking your large language model for your coding assistant. Let's take a look at some of the alternatives to GitHub Copilot and Amazon Code Whisperer. Tab 9 is another coding assistant that helps speed up the delivery and keeps your code safe. It looks like what they've done is they've taken some models that they've trained or some open source models and wrapped around it some of the compliances that are required for enterprises. This is Tab 9, and it does all the things that we need it to do, such as code generation, which is the bulk of the workload. It can also discover how APIs are used and accessed, generating tests, which are usually a tedious task that it takes care of it for us, code translation from one language to another. Ooh, refactoring, I like that one, so we can make our code more concise. The less code we have to deal with, the better. And code commenting, that's fantastic. We also have Sneaks powered by Deep Code AI. It's a Deep Code AI that's always been the backbone of Sneak Code, which is why it's the fastest and most accurate for SAST. What is SAST? Okay, static application security testing. It tests and analyzes application source code for security vulnerabilities. And Sneaks providing the best and most capable option for an AI model today that gives you the most security that you need. The best SAST on the market. We also have Replit, which is another AI that powers code generation. Looking through the options here, we see that it does the autocomplete like we need as usual. It also provides a chat interface, which makes it easy to help understand how our code is operating, what's happening based on certain input cases. Ooh, it also helps us proactively debug when there's a problem like a missing semicolon or broken syntax and things like that. Oh, this is a neat idea. Okay, so it offers pair programming, which is usually done with a human, but in this case with an AI. The AI will program with you side by side, and as you pair program, I guess, on the same terminal window, the same IDE, the same text editor, you'll be able to have conversations with the AI as you're writing code. And just like all the other ones, it can help us create code from scratch. It also helps us write test cases. It will refactor for us, and it will take instructions to help improve the styling and design of your target output UI. This is neat. Well, it also helps you interact with other service providers and their APIs, so you can build off of those API providers, and makes it really easy and straightforward for you to build that into your code. For example, they have Twitter here, which requires you to set up your consumer key or secret and some access tokens. So it gives you that boilerplate, makes it really easy for you to then add that logic into your application. And so now you have a component that directly sends tweets to Twitter. And here's another option if you need it 100% on your machine. We have Tabby. Tabby is a self-hosted AI coding assistant offering an open source and on-premise alternative to GitHub Copilot. The great part about this is it's pretty universal and supports most consumer-grade GPUs. It's self-contained and there's no need for any cloud systems. And just like all the others, it plugs into your IDE just as you need, just as before. And it's got Visual Studio Code, IntelliJ, we've got Vim and NeoVim. That's pretty great. Now you can code all you need, all the AI in any of the ways that you need it to be. So we looked at a lot of variety of LLMs, And there's just a lot of options out there. Now you get to pick your favorite one. I chose Copilot because it was easy and free, but we also have Code Whisperer, which is another great option. Taking a look at the LLMs for code assistance in Copilot, we have a lot of options available to us. Just looking at the options available, while this is not a complete list, these are the top options that are available that I found. We have GitHub Copilot, which is fantastic. It does the same things that all the other ones do, code completion, and it does tasks on your behalf. We have Code Whisperer, which does the same thing. So we've got Copilot with GitHub, and we've got Code Whisperer with Amazon and AWS. Now, both of these options have a free capability. We also have the Playground with OpenAI, which gives us an interface to conversate with an AI directly, and then we can manipulate the API in our favor, so all the output that the assistant provides, we can go back and manipulate. We can change these things to whatever we desire. We've got Sneak, which has a deep code capability, now provides a high level of security. It takes a look at your code and makes sure to find vulnerabilities and fixes them for you. We have Code Llama, which does all this baked into a nice model, which is an open source option, and it's made available for free. We have Tab 9, which is a paid solution, and it makes it easy for you to integrate just the way the others did, and it's a nice option because it's a third party. If you're looking to go away from like the big codes, like the Microsofts and the Amazons and the Googles, you can go with Tab 9. We also have Replit, which is another one. There's so many of these. How many are there? These are just the ones I found. So we've got Replit, does the same thing as all the other ones. Ooh, what are the pricing? What's the pricing look like? Okay, there is a free option here as well. And then we have Tabby, which is another open source easy option that gets you set up easily in your IDE. From an open source perspective, this is the one to go towards, is the Tabby. They've made it easy for you to set up your IDE and run the LLM locally. You do need a GPU to make this work, and it can run directly on your system.